Hey guys, Mention with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to compare the iPhone 13 Pro here with the iPhone SE, the first generation, the 2016 model. This is not the 2020 model, which was a release, of course, last year. So this is the first generation of it, so the smaller device here. And you'll see in this video, we're going to talk about things from like hardware, the software, overall build and performance of these two devices. But before we dive into today's video, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways. So make sure that like and subscribe. But also, if you guys are in the market for any of these devices at a discounted price, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section. So let's go dive into today's video here. Of course, between these two phones, a lot has changed. The iPhone SE here, which was released in 2016 here, it's the 4-inch display, really tiny, small phone, lightweight, and it has that design that the iPhone 12 started to take on, and the 13 here, as you can see here, those flat edges here that comes into play. Of course, that's probably the only difference between these two phones, as a lot has changed since the 13 has come out, which came out just over a month and a half ago, and this is why we're doing the review for you guys. So now let's talk about both of these two phones in depth. The first thing, of course, is going to be the price point that you're going to be looking at. The iPhone SE here, you pretty much hard to find even brand new right now. So if you do find it, it's probably going to be pre-owned or used or refurbished, which you can buy probably under $50, more like $30 or $40. So a phone that is just by compared to the 13 Pro, just dirt cheap is probably lack of terms to use. The 13 Pro here, again, the base model 128 gig starts at $999 plus taxes, of course. So almost here you're going to be paying 10-12 times more in terms of the price, and that's the price that you pay, and that's probably going to be what's going to be coming down whenever you're deciding or even thinking of getting one device to another, if you really are going to be comparing. The other thing to compare on these going to be is the color choices. Both of the phones actually come in the 3 base colors. You have silver, gold, and graphite, or space gray, what used to be called as, which here again this model is. But for the very first time on the 13 Pro, you get this new special color known as Sierra Blue. On the iPhone SE, it does have a special color that's known as rose gold, a shade of gold as well. Now let's talk about the body build of these two phones. Of course, the body build we talked about being those flat edges, probably going to be the biggest similarities. But in terms of actual body here, as you can see here, the 13 Pro here looks huge, and it is huge. You have that just a single camera versus 312 megapixel camera. Of course, in the past, Apple used to write those words and stuff. They completely remove all of that going forward. The build of the body of these two phones are slightly different here. The 13 Pro here has stainless steel surgical grade body, which is really durable, and then ceramic front display as well, which Apple claims to be the toughest glass out there. Like with any glass, still can crack here. On the iPhone SE here, as you can see, it has that aluminum body to it as well. It doesn't have wireless charging because of just being that aluminum body only, like the iPhone 13 Pro here, which you can charge using that MagSafe charger, wireless charging capability and such. So that's going to be the body difference between these two phones. Of course, the SE here, in terms of the body difference, you notice here you have that Touch ID fingerprint reader, so you do still have that, which proven to be really helpful in this day and era. So again, that's going to be another thing to mention. And the other thing to mention is around water resistivity. iPhone SE is not water resistant, so if it gets water, it's going to be damaged. You're going to be pretty much out of luck with the iPhone SE. iPhone 13 Pro is rated with the IPA68 rating. You can take this phone for a dive up to 6 meters for 30 minutes or so. So that's going to be what the big difference in terms of the build of these two phones. Now let's talk about the next thing, which is going to be your actual storage, which is really important to iPhones because you can't really add external SD card to get more storage. You have to pay with Apple iCloud storage, which can be annoying because you pay monthly or yearly or however you plan to pick on it. So the iPhone SE here, you only get a couple models. You get the 16 gig, 32 gig, 128 gig is a max you can get, which is the base for the iPhone 13 Pro here. You start with the 128 gig, paying that $1,000 price mark. And if you want to go up, you have a couple more configuration. You have that 256 gig, 512 gig, and finally, for the very first time on the iPhone, we see 1 terabyte of gig. So if you need that much because you have lots of photos, videos, this is where the iPhone 13 Pro will be for you. Now, there's of course a lot going on in terms of both of these two phones in their different areas. The one thing we want to mention is going to be the battery life on these two devices. So what kind of battery life can you expect from both of these two phones? When it comes to battery life, of course, we talk about video playback, and the battery on the iPhone SE we've seen is not the greatest. It's probably one of the smaller batteries on the device dies pretty instantaneously when you're using it. It seems like if you use the newer phone, the battery is just not enough. You get pretty much like if you're a light user, you probably go half the day with the single charge, again depending on your usage. If you're probably not using it like crazy because of the limited functionalities of the phone, compared to the iPhone 13 Pro here, which in terms of video playback, you get 22 hours video playback versus 13 hours of video playback on the SE. And if you're getting a pre-owned or used SE, the battery might be even degraded and you may not even get as much as that much. But if you get a brand new one, that's the 13 hours that we are talking about. So now let's talk about finally the software. The one thing we'll mention in terms of software is we're really surprised that Apple actually supported iOS 15 on this 5-year-old phone. Again, in the beginning of the year, Apple mentioned that it wasn't going to support it or anything. They did not indicate it at all, and everyone pretty much said that iPhone SE is dead. It's not going to get the update. It's just going to be stuck on iOS 14. But luckily, it was able to get iOS 15, and that might finally be the last update that it gets, and that's going to be pretty much what you're looking at. So a phone that's pretty much at the end of its life. Well, iOS 15 on the iPhone 13 Pro, it's what it was built for. This is the reason why the latest version was released. Like with every release of a new iPhone, Apple goes and updates the software, and it works phenomenally on the iPhone on the iOS 15 update here. So in terms of pretty much coming down in terms of everything that you're looking at between these two phones, probably the biggest thing why you would get the iPhone SE in today's market in 2021 would be probably the price. If you have good $30-$40 to spend on this pre-owned device, you can pick it up on eBay or Amazon right now, and gets you the latest version of software pretty much, and allows you to do the basic things you need to do like a phone should, which is calling, texting, and light browsing, and using your popular apps. Again, all of that is supported. Again, here and there the battery life isn't the greatest, but it gets you with the iPhone features and software. The 13 Pro, on the other hand, of course, you have those triple massive cameras, things like cinematic mode, 4K recording, and just the night mode, Apple Pro RAW, and much more, of course, that just you can't compete on these two devices when it comes to camera. The other thing to mention on the 13 Pro, of course, it's going to be the software support for it. You're going to get at least minimum of 5 years support without having any issues on it. Again, if you're looking for a phone for gaming, you're probably looking at the 13 Pro because it has that 6 gig of RAM. And that just display itself is just unbelievably premium display that you can get on that 4-inch versus that 6.1-inch huge display comparison between these devices. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We want to hear from you guys if you guys upgraded or used one device versus another, how your experiences has been so far. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you guys found this video helpful, please make sure that like and subscribe button as well. See you guys next time.